Greetings everyone, my name is Etterville, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Mega Man Maker. During the last part, I covered 5 viewer submitted levels, so in this part, I'll be covering at least 5 or 6 more viewer submitted levels, starting out with this one, Junk Garage by Meccirus, 16 plays and a score of 3. As always, if you want one of your levels to be featured in a part like this one, please leave the level name and level ID in the comment section below or direct message me on Twitter. And as always, the full disclaimer of this entire LP series is linked in the description below. Also in the description are the timestamps for every level that I cover in each part. And judging by the loading time, this will be a longer stage too. And that was a bit of a slower teleportation for Mega Man, so hopefully this doesn't stutter too much. Whole bunch of special weapons as usual. Now, Meccirus did warn me that there are several usages of Sparkman platforms like here. They did give me access to the time slot to make this a bit easier, so I'm thankful for that. They also said to be a bit careful with the junk blocks because they're a bit glitchy. So far so good. This is introducing the Octopus Battery / Suzy, Sniper Joes, Junk Blocks, and Sparkman platforms. I guess this is more of a fortress level, personally speaking. Because it seems that it's kind of expected of you to understand these gimmicks already, especially the Sparkman platforms. Now the fire bars. So far so good. Oh goody, this thing. It's a bit harder because there's a bottomless pit down there though. But nothing too unmanageable. Thankfully I have the charge shots, so stuff like the blockies aren't too much of a nuisance. Quite a bit of tight corridors here though. And judging by the choice of musical track, this is definitely more of a fortress level. Okay. That was really strange there. Somehow I was able to hit Rush before I even touched him. Then again, I know some minor stuttering, so that's probably what happened. Oh goody, the fire bars actually resist the ring boomerang, even though the ring boomerang pierces through most enemy shields. That's a little bit concerning. And now we're introduced to the spikes. Something's to the left. I knew there was going to be a secret there. Well, I wanted to see what's up there, but I hit a checkpoint. Too bad. I guess this is the harder route, judging by the fact we have conveyor belts trying to move me into spikes, and there are force beams on the right, and all these tackle fires too. Whoops. I need to make sure I don't go too far back, otherwise I'll have to redefeat the hot dog over and over. Nah, I'll ignore that life pickup. So far, I'm really liking this stage. Nice difficulty progression for a fortress level, that's for sure. Certainly a little bit more on the challenging side. Not too difficult, but especially with those fights with the hot dog, it can become more challenging. Then again, I may have went down an alternate pathway, and yikes, I didn't realize I just jumped onto the Sparkman platform there. The ring boomerang is proving to be the best special weapon at this stage, along with the time slow, that is. Because I can do stuff like this. Otherwise, this segment will be a lot more hairy. Then again, all these segments I'm going through can be done Buster only. And the checkpoint placement is more on the fine side. It's more like the traditional Mega Man Fortress stages, but it works. Oh, we need to be careful here so we don't destroy the terrain beneath us. And be careful so we don't get hit by an enemy while we're on the Sparkman platform itself. Which I'm remarkably doing a lot better than what I expected to. Boy, this stage really wants us to use the ring boomerang a lot, considering the positioning of many of these power-ups. You know, even though I'm getting hit by a lot of these enemies, especially the tellies and tackle fires, and the octopus batteries, I'm doing pretty well. That's really due to the fact that each checkpoint placement actually has a large energy and life energy pickup. When I say energy pickup, I mean weapon energy. Oh, good, he's stuttering. I knew that was gonna happen. I misjudged my jumping distance. Plus, the stuttering was becoming a slight issue with my control inputs. At least the checkpoint was only a few screens away. Getting ambushed by tackle fires isn't that fun, though. Whoa, the stuttering almost killed me there. It almost made me miss that jump. This is one of the reasons why in Mega Maker or Mega Man Maker you shouldn't make your levels too big. Or rather, fill them up with too many objects. This challenge isn't too difficult. In fact, it's a bit easier than the earlier challenge with the hot dog. I will gladly take that M-Tank though. And there's no chance of getting soft-locked over there because there are always those tellies, as well as the fact you can destroy the ground beneath you with a charge shot. So that's definitely a plus. Plus we have a lot of weaponry to deal with a lot of different situations that we may face with these enemies. If there's one main theme I noticed about this stage, well, there are three of them: Sparkman platforms, junk blocks, and conveyor belts. Somehow that Sparkman platform didn't activate even though I jumped right onto it. Strange. Well, it's a lot more in my favor. I guess I jumped directly at the right time just before the update loop registered or something. Still, this was an overall pretty enjoyable fortress level. A little bit more on the long side, but not as long as the ice-based stage they sent before me. Anyways, time to find Metal Man, whose weakness is probably the Metal Blade, as it always is. For once, it's actually something else. So that was the end of Junk Garage. As I just stated, it's a pretty well designed fortress level, focusing on conveyor belts and other junk items. It feels like a recycling center of sorts, though it needs more molten metal like Dustman's stage. So I will give it a thumbs up, although the difficulty progression felt a bit odd. Sure, it ended up being harder than at the beginning of the stage, and gimmicks were being introduced in a decently enough fashion. The problem was that, around the middle, the difficulty felt like it was going up and down, though that may be just me taking an alternate pathway. And I did like that Meccirus was careful to make sure there weren't any soft-locked areas. Great work, Meccirus. Second on the lineup is Adventure in Alaska by Pirata Patheta, 16 plays and a score of 3. Whereas the previous stage was more of a recycling center / junk oriented stage, this one I believe will be an ice fortress or ice stage. And we have Chargeman's team for some reason. Not complaining, it's a pretty upbeat team. And we're immediately introduced to seals and crabs. I'm not sure if crabs live in these icy regions, or at least the crabbots. At the very least, they do make sense in terms of water. Okay, this is definitely a special weapons oriented stage because we're forced to use the oil slider here in order to make these gaps. At least that's what I think. Well, that's neat. So this is an ice / special weapons oriented stage. Ice / oil slider. Ice slasher / oil slider. And we have fire just for burning down icemen. This just glitches me through the platform there. I remember Pirata Patheta doing the same thing before in a Bizarre Journey. Good to see that they're using these same tricks and glitches in their future levels. So glad to see they're improving. Sadly, there are no secrets over there. What I do need, of course, is the oil slider. Let's see if I can maintain the oil slider through the next segment. Oh yeah, reset, I forgot. Let's see, how am I supposed to do... Oh yeah, I need to... Oh, I see. I don't remember that glitch in Pirata Patheta's original stage. Just keep holding right and I warp upwards. Well, that's a neat glitch. This kind of feels like Glitch A Bizarre Journey Part 2, combined with some oil slider gimmicks as well. It's effectively an actual stage now, with enemies to face and challenges that aren't glitch-oriented. Because here we need to dodge the increasing number of picket men, first 1, then 2, then 3, then go down over here and... Wow, I didn't realize you could be warped back that far. This is definitely Glitch A Bizarre Journey Part 2, and just like Glitch A Bizarre Journey Part 1, it really needs more attention. It should be on the trending list too. This really showcases, just like before, how broken the engine can be. Ah, I see, now it's time to use the Ice Slasher. Or of course I could also just use the Oil Slider, but this works too. Unfortunately, it doesn't allow me to pierce right through the mini-bosses. I didn't realize this could happen with the boss doors. I'm learning more glitches with this engine every day now. Same as before, get squished in between and fail completely because I forgot to do it the right time. At least there's a checkpoint right over here, so it's not too much of a time loss. After all, Sparkman platforms can be a bit finicky with how they work. There we go, that's how you're supposed to do it, and wow. I'm really surprised how far you can be taken upwards. Back in Glitch a Bizarre Journey, you were only taken upwards by one screen, but here we're taken upwards by several screens. I'm quite impressed with your work, Pirata. Not to mention this is an actual stage instead of being a pure glitch-oriented one. I wonder if there are any more oil slider glitches though. That would make this even more hilarious to go through. It has really generous checkpoint placement, but I suppose it's to prevent odd glitches and whatnot. Wait a minute. Yep, and his Firestorm. The Firestorm was only included to be his weakness. And just like before, or just like in Mega Man 1, Iceman hits like a truck. Nonetheless, that's the end of Adventure in Alaska, aka Glitch a Bizarre Journey Part 2. So I'll definitely give this a thumbs up more for the hilarity's sake, and the fact it's more of an actual level. At least a 6.5 or 7 out of 10 for my part. It's definitely winning more in terms of fun and creativity more than design. The glitches are all entertaining instead of being frustrating, so for that alone and all of the creative new usages that weren't present in the original glitch, I definitely highly recommend this stage, and I wish it got a higher score just like Part 1 did. Third level on the lineup is the primary use of all weapons Part 1 Definitive Version by Mega Man 2407, 20 plays and a score of 3. I will be covering Part 1 and Part 2 in this Viewers Mid-Levels part. First off is the Rolling Cutter. This is going to be a tutorial stage showcasing how to use each special weapon in their different fashions. In this case, how to aim the Rolling Cutter. And by going down here we can immediately end the stage right now if we want to. I don't know why that's there, I guess it's for more expert players, but it's really easy to utilize that. After all, the boomerang arc isn't that hard to understand. So let's go through the stage the proper way. I don't give the Rolling Cutter enough credit when its credit's due. Sure, its arc can be a little bit of a problem, but because it deals so much damage, and it can also kill spines, it's really useful. Not to mention it can actually arc behind Sniper Joe shields, so it does have that use for it going too. And it can just one-shot all the Crabbots as well. This is one of those locations where you need to arc it backwards in order to kill the Skullmet, or the Skullbot. Same with this, Ben K. Of course I could just do this and make it a lot easier on myself. And this is the place where you're forced to use the Rolling Cutter. And I want access to that M-Tank, so I'm going to have to arc it properly. And gravity doesn't really affect M-Tanks or tanks in this game, so there are no problems at all. I guess that's the way to end the stage if you really want to. I guess it's only for if you want to understand each weapon in separation. If you feel they're good enough, you're good enough. But I'll go forward with this. I wish there were teleporters at the beginning with each of the blocks so you could skip ahead to each section. The Ice Slasher freezes enemies in place for a temporary period of time, so then you can wail on them really easily. And you can do stuff like this. Of course, you still need to kill the enemies, though. But really, this is a tutorial stage and I have nothing else to say because as long as you understand what weapon can be used for each situation, this is really easy. Time for the Hyper Bomb. Strangely, there isn't a section before block to end the level early. Well, there may have been, but I forgot. This is showcasing how, well, before it showcased the plus pattern of the bomb, this is showcasing of how far its range can be in its arcing pattern. It does consume more weapon energy though, so you only have about 14 shots per bar, per full bar that is. Thankfully, enemies seem to be really generous in terms of all of the drops they're giving, which is quite strange actually. Usually I'm not that good or lucky with all the drops. And now we have the Firestorm to protect us against all the hotheads, or rather tackle fires, as well as the tellies. Still, stuff like that can happen. So, time for time slow. The stage is getting gradually harder though, as you can see now. Especially because I forgot I can fall into spikes there. At least there's a checkpoint at the beginning of each section, just in case you die, like I did. Which I'm really thankful for. That's one of the situations where you really shouldn't use the Firestorm, so you don't end up just destroying the blocks beneath you. Quick weapon switching is vital for survival here. Or just utilizing his other special weapon works too. Case in point. At least all of these weapon energy sections or special weapon sections always has several scenarios which showcase how useful each special weapon can be. Time for the Thunder Beam's time to shine, although the Thunder Beam is already really useful. Oh yeah, I need to jump forward over there in order to hit all the enemies. I do like how this stage still maintains some semblance of a challenge, because the previous Firestorm segment was definitely harder than the Rolling Cutter segment. Same with this one. That's how you're supposed to do it. Almost, actually. Oh boy. No, I don't want to do that. I want to get the magnet beam out. I wasn't sure if I was going to make it, so I wanted to get the magnet beam out. Well, it's time for the time slow. No pun intended there. Oh, force beams. No wonder they want time slow here. Of course, this is one of the situations where time slow isn't the best. Oh, I should have ridden the Sparkman platforms all the way up so I would be able to reach it. Silly me. Of course, I can just jump all over that wall of Sparkman platforms, or count bombs, I mean. Oh boy. I didn't realize those were red force beams. Time for the oil slider segment. Oh no. Oh, I guess this is for completing the stage early if you want to, but I'm going to continue on forward. This is showcasing the fact you can double jump using the oil slider. And... I think I just went backwards through a segment. Well, okay then. I guess I'm in the magnet beam segment. We showcased all the other special weapons, but I think we skipped the water segment with the oil slider. Nope. This is just the magnet beam segment. I guess I am going the right way. Hopefully I'll have enough weapon energy in order to make these jumps. Ah, there's the oil slider segment. Well... I think it went backwards over there. That's what happened. Let's try doing this correctly this time. Ah, that's how you're supposed to do it. Well, slowing down time I don't think was intended, but hey, it works. You need to double jump here, otherwise you won't make the jump. We can either go down over here and... no thanks, I'll go to the left. I guess we'll be fighting a boss? Yep, time to fight Cutman on all these bouncy platforms. I guess the magnet beam section was optional. What's their weakness? Okay, it's Firestorm. Good. At least I think it's Firestorm. A little bit hard to hit you with it, though. No, it's not Firestorm. It's probably Rolling Cutter. The Ice Slasher is dealing a lot more damage than the rest of the weapons. So I guess it's the Ice Slasher then. Easier said than done to hit him with it because of all the bouncing, though. Alas, that's the end of Primary Use of All Weapons Part 1. A pretty neat tutorial stage. I didn't expect it to become this hard near the end. I will give it a thumbs up off screen, that's for sure. Let's try Part 2, and it has 6 plays and -2 of a score. What happened there? Left side, I guess, ends the stage early, and we have the Quick Boomerang, Crash Bomber, Metal Blade, and Atomic Fire. The Quick Boomerang auto-fires itself, and it seemingly can destroy the big fish enemies. I didn't realize it was one of the weaponry that could do it. And it can actually two-shot the spines as well. But of course, you can also rapid-fire the Quick Boomerang faster by this button mashing, as you can see here. Time for the Crash Bomb. And of course, the Crash Bomb's main usage is for blowing up those blocks, and for hitting the tough enemies. Strangely enough, the Time Stopper is one of those weapons that wasn't covered here. Same with a lot of the Mega Man 3 weaponry, like the Needle Cannon, Hard Knuckle, Ring Boomerang. Perhaps that's being reserved for Part 3 or something. Oh, and this is one of those areas where you shouldn't necessarily blow up those blocks. Well, I was lucky. I I guess this stage is focusing only on the Mega Man 2 weaponry, because all 4 special weapons here are from Mega Man 2. This time we have the ever-so classic Metal Blade. Not as broken as it was in Mega Man 2, but it can fire it in 8 directions. That was a rather short segment. Time for the atomic fire. Just like before, you can charge it up to 3 levels, but once you fire it off, you have to wait for it to go off screen before you can fire another one. But you can hold it like a shield, but it's not as good as the fair shot in that regard because it drains extra special weapon energy every time you try using it that way. And that way, the charge shot from the Mega Buster kind of outpaces it, because the charge shot charges at about the same rate as the atomic fire, and even though it deals less damage, you can at least use it infinitely. Still, the atomic fire has its uses, especially against a lot of tough enemies at once. And situations like this one, because I can use it like a makeshift shield. Well, I guess it's time to fight Napalm Man, whose weakness I think is either the atomic fire or the crash bomb. Yep, it's the atomic fire. And he takes an astronomical amount of damage from the fully charged atomic fire. And apparently bouncing on those platforms or the bouncy springs kind of glitched out his AI. Honestly, I liked Part 1 more than Part 2, because it felt like it had more meat to it, plus it did have a certain amount of challenge even though it was kind of on the easier side near the end, what with the optional magnet beam segment, as well as the oil slider segment. Still, I would like to see you explore the primary use of the Mega Man 3 weaponry that was added in version 1.1, maybe in Part 3. I'd like to see that. Fifth and final level of this part is Napalm Man's Obstacle Course by FenixStar, 25 plays and a score of 3. I played FenixStar's previous 2 levels before, those being Pick Your Poison and the remake of Eagle Dungeon from Zelda 1, so I'm curious to see how they developed based off my critiques. I have high hopes for this stage, and judging by the loading time, it shouldn't be too long. We have 2 teleporters, 1, 2, and a Metar on the left. I guess the first route is the easy route and the second one is the medium route. I will have to replay through the stage at least once more time, of course. You have to be a bit quick on your feet over there, otherwise you'll get damaged by the Met Tool. You probably should move the first Met Tool back a bit, so you don't get ambushed there. There are a lot of boss doors here as well. Strange. I guess they're for dramatic attention. Or dramatic tension. Ah, neat, that's where the other pathway leads up to, so I'm gonna keep taking the easy route for this one, and then I'll take the medium route in my second playthrough. At the very least, I do appreciate that each of the pathways is explicitly labeled, like 1 is the easy pathway, 2 is the harder pathway. Ah, and I see the number up there that's independent of the rest. That indicates what section or challenge room we're in. Like we were in the 3rd challenge room, and now we're moving on to the 4th one, I think. Mini-boss time. But of course, the dive missile makes minced meat out of them. Honestly, the dive missile is one of the more powerful bomb-type weapons in this game. So we completed the 3rd segment, now move on to the 4th one. I find it interesting that the 3rd segment is the same if you take the easy or medium route, or you fight the hot dog. Thank you for illustrating the fact that we can use the skull barrier in order to make this a little bit on the easier side. Of course, we can do this entire stage buster only if you want, because I think it's possible you can make all these jumps without using the skull barrier. One tree. I guess the third one means it's the harder version, but we don't have H-tanks yet. Oh, I see why they want that. So you can deflect the tackle fires back at the hotheads. Clever. Same with the gachapons, or gumball machines. Still, this stage is relatively more on the easy side. Then again, it may be also due to the pathway I'm taking. That was the 6th room. Just make sure you're not sliding into the door so you don't accidentally fall into the pit over there. That'll be embarrassing. I also find it funny that if you use the ice slasher on the hot dog, and then you blow it up, it doesn't destroy itself or start exploding until it unfreezes. On to the 7th segment. Like I said, I really like the fact that the developer gave the foresight to actually show what special weapon's the best in each segment. Really appreciate that. I'm just damage boosting right through it because most of these enemies aren't really that dangerous. On to the 8th room. I guess this is the final one. Ah, by taking this room we get access to all of these extra goodies. That's neat. An M&E tank. Can't reach that, so I'll take the other route. Oh, that's the other side of it. Fine with me. Both of these routes link up to the M&E tank as well, so I guess this is to be generous. And there's the Dr. Wily sign. We can't put Dr. Wily signs on the tile sets just yet. Maybe in a future update. Time to fight Napalm Man himself. No, if you could only jump down. That works. So that was the end of the easy pathways of Napalm Man's obstacle course. A pretty nice traditional / fortress level. Kind of more in the fortress type because it's kind of understood or implied that you're supposed to understand how these enemies and gimmicks or platforms work already. Still, it's on the easier side because I probably took the easier route. Now I'll be taking the more difficult route to see how different this stage is. We have 2 Picket Men and a Hothead immediately, as well as a Sniper Joe. It's a lot less annoying to just damage boost right through them instead of just facing them head on. But of course, hotheads are really powerful in this engine because they can just snipe you from afar. On to number 2. I do like the fact, I'm not sure how to think about it, but I do find it interesting that some of the pathways are the same if you take the medium route or the easy route, whereas other ones are different. Whoops. That's the wrong time. There we go. Now I can destroy it with a dive missile. This is certainly a lot more challenging, mainly because there's a lot more instant death. Plus we're introduced to the enemies a lot quicker. So I do like there's more distinction between each of the pathways, which was kind of a problem in Pick Your Poison. So glad to see that FenixStar improved upon that design. You know, there's actually a funnier way to take care of all the hot dogs as well. Over here we're forced to use special weapons, but whereas before we weren't. Fine with me. Well, this is still kind of more like a fortress level in a way. I'm not sure if I should mark this as a special weapons oriented stage, because usually fortress levels do have some forced weapon usage, at least some of them. Maybe not to this extent though, so it's kind of like a soft special weapons oriented stage. But I have to see if a future challenge room actually forces you to use special weapons. If it does, I'll make this a special weapons oriented stage. Well, I can't get through the door normally because the ceiling is too low. Well, I kind of got soft locked over there, and I tried for 2 or 3 minutes, but I couldn't make my way across the door. Maybe raise the ceiling by 1 or 2 blocks, because I'm not fast enough with the controller in order to rapidly press the shine in order to make my way across to the right. Even then, I was too slow, and I ended up getting tucked back into the teleporter too. This is a lot more of the intended route, I think. I guess that was more of an oversight more than anything else. And I think I need to use the shine, repeatedly use the shine over there in order to cross that gap. Still, that one last segment was a minor blemish on the stage. I guess it was an oversight more than anything else. Now here's the funnier way of defeating the hot dog that I was alluding to earlier. If I can position it right. I'm not at the right position. The funny thing you can do is you can deflect all of those fireballs right back at the hot dog itself. But unfortunately it's at the wrong position to do it. I think I could have done it earlier, but as I said, I was a bit too late. Time for the more difficult version of the firebar segment. Once again, I do like there is a lot of distinction or more distinction between each of the pathways, so it doesn't feel like I'm repeating the same challenges over and over. What I'm trying to say is that each pathway does have similar challenges, but one other pathway has more difficult versions of the other. So for that alone, I do approve. It's definitely better than Pick Your Poison because we can tell an easy distinction between each pathway, and it's clearly outlined what's the easy pathway and what's the more difficult one. So I will give this a thumbs up, although you should fix that room over there where you can get soft locked by the teleporter on the medium route. I feel that's kind of an oversight because the rest of the stage doesn't have that problem, nor do all the other teleporters. So keep up the decent work, Phoenix. If you keep up the work, you'll eventually become a much better level designer, like what Pirata Patheta, as well as Meccirus have done over the course of this LP. I have high faith in you. You can do it. So in summary, my favorite level of this part would definitely be Adventure in Alaska by Pirata Patheta, aka Glitch A Bizarre Journey Part 2. Well, as I mentioned a lot during that level, this felt like a Glitch Exhibition Part 2 of Glitch A Bizarre Journey combined with an actual stage with actual enemies, so for that alone it's a definite 7 out of 10. It was quite creative and quite fun to go through. Although, as I mentioned in some of his previous levels, I'd like to see the gimmick taken further. Maybe make it so that you need to use several glitches in order to defeat the boss. Although 2 glitches or 1 glitch was utilized during the boss fight, so that you can get up above Iceman in order to collect the large energy pickups, as well as using the springs to get back down, glitch downwards. So in the next part, I'll be trying out something a little bit different. Well then, thanks for watching and have a nice day. Toodles!